Welcome to the Future of Wellness podcast, where we dive deep into the evolving landscape of health, technology, and human potential. And we're your hosts, Alexander
and Kasia. And in each episode, we will explore how cutting-edge innovations are shaping the way we live, work, and take care of ourselves.
From biohacking breakthroughs to the future of mental health and sustainable well-being, we'll be joined by visionary thinkers who are redefining wellness for the modern world.
Stay tuned as we uncover the trends and insights that will inspire you to thrive in the years ahead.
And now, over to the chat.
Tony, we're just happy to see you finally here. And as usual, maybe you can describe yourself in a few words for our audience.
Sure, I'm happy to describe myself. I mean, describe my work, right? My work is I am the CEO and founder of Oyster, is a global employment platform, is a mission-driven company on a mission to make the world more free and equal by democratizing access to global job opportunities. And I'm a repeat entrepreneur, so this is not my first company. I started a company before that went public and was acquired. When I took some time off after my first company, I decided that I want to take care of my well-being first and foremost. I took a year off, which led me to start Oyster, because Oyster gave me the choice and the freedom where to live. That's why I live in the island of Cyprus. I believe in this integration of DNA and the place you live in. I was born in the East Mediterranean in this area, so I wanted to come back home and not compromise. I didn't want to compromise on my career and my work, so I built a company that's fully distributed around the world. We are 550 people in 80 countries from 100 nationalities. I was born in Lebanon. I left to Europe, to France specifically in my teenage years, and I lived the last 25 years between the UK, the US, and the last 3 years here in Cyprus. I'm a father of 3 little kids, and I have also a pet, a small dog named Fatouche.
It's a perfect introduction. And Tony, I want to ask you about Oyster more, because you have on your official page something like you are changing the way how the world works. Can you describe a little bit more about this? So the most changing part, what is that?
Yeah, if you think about today's world of work, it is relatively toxic in a sense that we come into we have our first job, we work really hard, we go to school, to university, and we go to these organizations that have not a great cultures, that are just here to create profit. Their only purpose is to create profit. And suddenly we get triggered, our fears, our traumas, we get caught into it as we come to work, and work become taxing on us. Not to mention that we force people in knowledge worker today to commute to the office unnecessarily. We restrict them, we restrict their freedom, we restrict their flexibility totally unnecessarily. So instead, what we are building at Oyster and advocating for is a work that is actually supporting your life. How can we design a work experience that give you the freedom where you want to live, give you the freedom when you want to work, and is designed on a culture where it's about delivering impact, not necessarily only delivering profit. It's about being a mission-driven to give people more fulfillment in what they do, and also a culture built on trust. We default to trust in our organization. Everything we say, everything we do, is about building more trust among the team. And the result of that, combined with this global distribution of talent that create that hyper diverse environment, then you create an environment that supports people's life and increases their engagement, increases their productivity, increases their happiness. That's the future of work. It's a future of work that is more connected to the need of humans. It's an empathy-driven future of work.
And when we talk about the future, a lot of times we talk about technologies. I mean, they have evolved a lot for the past few years now, for the past 20 years, even more. But technologies can do both harm and good. So what I wanted to ask you about is how do you envision the use of technologies in actually reconnecting, as you were saying, people, workers, entrepreneurs, and their inner something happening in themselves called well-being, which is just a basic need that we can't just look away from, as you mentioned. So is there any way we can have a glimpse into the future into how technologies can help with that, or how do you think they will change that maybe?
Yeah, you're right, Sasha. Technology can be used for good or not. And in our case, we live in a world that is eaten by technology. Our mental space is actually eaten by technology. Think about all the notification you receive, all the emails, all the advertisement that your mind is subject to, are here to manipulate you to buy things that you don't need. All of this is toxicity coming from the power and scalability of technology. But technology can also be extremely useful in case of increasing your productivity, enable you to do more with less, enable you to create boundaries to your life. You can intentionally shut your notification. You can intentionally design your work to create that space. For instance, at Oyster, on Friday, we have a day we call Focus Friday. Today is Friday. I don't have any internal meetings. So I'm able to catch up on everything that I have to catch up during the week. So when I go into the weekend, I'm completely disconnected and I'm recharging. Technology like AI is going to be a driver to increase our productivity and to increase our creativity. And the more we create as human, the more we feel fulfilled. And by taking our creativity to the next level, today you can be an author without being an author. Today, you can learn music with AI. You can create music with AI without being a musician, right? So we're going into a phase where technology is going to assist us to be more and more creative and fulfilled if used right.
And actually, this is an interesting topic that you're talking about AI specifically, because of course, when in 2024 we're talking about the future of technologies, almost everyone is talking about the future of AI use. And this is an interesting question because we were promised that AI will take all the boring tasks away and will do all the creativity. But as far as we see, AI is really good at creative stuff. It's really good at making text, making images and stuff that you could never make before yourself. So this actually is a great question, and maybe you could elaborate on that a little bit more on how specifically of all tech things happening, we can use AI to better our well-being both at work and in our everyday lives, because as far as you know, work is not everything that happens in your life. So maybe we could use AI for the rest of things happening in our lives, not just work stuff as we do nowadays.
Absolutely. AI will be transformative if used correctly to enable us to create more space in our life and focus on what's really important and not being caught into these repetitive, low-value tasks and even high-value tasks. Think about AI as taking creativity to the next level in terms of like mathematical derivative. As you said, today AI can be creative itself, but then your creativity as a human is how do you interact with AI? What are the prompts that you're using? The quality of your prompt, the creativity in your prompts is going to determine the output of the AI machine. And together, you and the AI are the creator. So you're collaborating with the machine to enhance human creation and take it to the next level.
Right. Okay.
Okay, Tony, but if we speak not about AI, not about technology, but mostly about people and mental health, as that you already mentioned at the introduction. So as a leader of a fast-growing and big company, how do you realistically balance all the pressures of growth with the need for sustainable and long-term well-being for yourself and especially for your team?
Yeah. So you have to start first with yourself. You have to sustain yourself as a leader so you're able to be there and sustain your team. If you are burnout, then your team is going to see that and feel that energetically, and they're going to also burn out. If you're afraid and have anxiety, and you let that anxiety be apparent in your reactivity in the way you interact with your team, you're going to give them that anxiety. If you're emailing people or slacking people at 2 a.m. in the morning over the weekend, they're going to do the same, right? So you have to first manage yourself. You have to take care of yourself. And the good news is you only have 24 hours in a day. So you have to focus on creating prioritization, and you have to plan your day in a way that gives you that ability to take care of yourself. In my case, I've designed this company specifically so I can maintain my well-being, so we can work whenever we want to work. So I don't work in the morning. So in the morning, I do whatever I need to do. I go to the gym, I can be with my kids, I can learn a hobby, I can learn music, or whatever. And even during the day, I have frequent breaks in between Zoom calls to play a bit of music, maybe go for a swim. So creating these gaps intentionally is part of the well-being, but also you have to learn about yourself. You have to learn what are your needs. You have to connect with your needs as a human. And for me, while I was on that journey for the last few years, like my needs are very, very basic, right? Like I don't need to consume things anymore. I need water, a bit of nutrition, I need connection, I need to feel safe, I need to feel purposeful and delivering impact. And that's pretty much it. So really minimizing the needs to the minimum you need to thrive has been great for my well-being. Letting things go, removing these programming that we're all programmed to consume things we don't need. I mean, this is called marketing. It's called branding. Why would you buy this car and not this car? Why do you need a car in the first place, right? Like if you design your life in a way that doesn't require that. So, but when I go into the Western world and see all these advertisements about cars, I'm shocked. Like, why do you have to change cars every 4 years? So we are caught. I mean, marketers, they know that we are caught into that trap of consumption, and it's being used to get us to buy things we don't need, and that's totally required because we live in a world of infinite growth. So how do you create infinite growth? Either you put more people on this planet, and we are over 8 billion now. We're going to plateau over 10 billion in the next 20, 30 years. Okay, so we cannot put more people on the planet forever. Then the next strategy you have to use is to get people to consume more indefinitely, right? So that's why the system itself is not designed for our well-being, because for us to continue to consume more and more, we have to feel miserable about who we are. We have to feel that there's something missing in our life for us to go buy the next thing that we don't need. So we have to reverse that cycle. We have to reverse that cycle by focusing on okay, what is my really core needs that are connected to my happiness? And it's not about buying the next thing.
Tony, it's too deep conversation, and you are not typical entrepreneur, honestly, because we see so much people in entrepreneurship who are just, I should buy a car, I should buy a watch, I should buy a lot of things. But in that way, I think we have a new era of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship, and it's so cool when we speak loudly about mindfulness, about consuming, and something like that. It's I think really necessary.
Yeah, I believe, Kasia, it is an age of consciousness development for entrepreneurs and leaders, right? So we want leaders to wake up. That it's not about hitting the next quarterly number. That's not gonna get anybody anywhere, right? That's probably gonna hurt people and hurt the planet. It's about rethinking what leadership is about, and the more you expand leaders' consciousness, the more you realize actually, well, it's about people development, it's about people growth, it's about societal impact, it's about environmental impact. So how can we drive the world into expanding the consciousness of people in power? It's what needs to happen, and it is what is happening.
And what is your take on the hypergrowth? Because, I mean, you are running a hyper-growing company, and growth most of the time actually means that you have a lot of pressure coming onto you at all times from different directions. Everything comes onto you. How do you deal with that? And how do you think mindful approach will be different to the previous approaches where it just says that if you are the entrepreneur, you should be the hustler. You have not should, but you have to do this. You have to run through this, and then eventually you have everything in the world because you did that. But now I'm hearing that you're saying a completely different thing to run the hyper-growing companies nowadays. So what is your approach to actually withstanding all the pressures? Because you can change yourself, but the outside thing about growing companies rapidly, pressures don't go away, they still stand there.
Yeah. Well, what creates hypergrowth is 50% timing, 40% strategy, and 10% efforts. Okay, so you have to understand, you can work really, really hard selling beans and you don't have hypergrowth. You can burn yourself selling commodities and you don't have hypergrowth. Or you can work 1 day a week and be at the right time at the right place and have hypergrowth, right? So timing and strategy are so much more important than effort. In our case, we developed this concept of sustainable growth that is about, it's a triangle of sustainable growth that is about balancing our top line growth, our financial growth, with our customer satisfaction and employee well-being. And every quarter, we expand the surface area of the triangle. And in some cases, we have to take some dramatic decisions. Like in Q3, 2.5 years ago, we had so much demand for our stuff, our products, because again, timing. We started this company in January 2020, right before everybody go to remote work, and suddenly everybody wanted to buy our stuff. So, but we didn't have the right technology yet or the right service, and so what we've noticed is that we've noticed some burnout happening in our team. So I took the decision to stop accepting a new business for 3 months. We have helped our team to recover. We took some breath to actually add new resources into the business, and then we resumed our growth of new business in the next quarter. In that year, we were growing at around 700%. Okay, so if we kept going, we would have grown maybe 1,000%. But 700% or 1,000% is already amazing growth from any dimension you can look at it. So yeah, there is hyper growth, but if you introduce a little bit of breaks from time to time, you can build much longer and healthier organization. And the result of that today is amazing. We have our engagement surveys are off chart. People ask me, what keeps you up at night? And what keeps me up at night right now is our attrition rate is too low. We have forecasted a certain attrition rate in our forecast, and now we can't hire enough people because people are not leaving the company fast enough. So yeah, I mean, hypergrowth is much less correlated to burning out people than we thought before. It's about timing and strategy.
And how can you support your employees during those periods? Because I think it's really different with the employees and the entrepreneurs. I think it's really different in terms of the pressure that you're getting, what types of problems you may have which may arise during your journey. So how do you do that for your company, and maybe how do you help your clients to overcome the same things? Because I think your job is actually to help a lot of companies not to just hire and help them with the onboarding processes and the overall HR stuff, but actually support them with the questions that they have never had before about managing people and supporting the same type of growth that you may have in your company.
And so, Tony, just extra question about it, because I also worked with HR departments and something like that about people well-being and happiness, something like that. And most important questions always from business is how we can calculate it, how we can measure well-being in the numbers or something like that. So how we can deal with it.
Perfect. Great question. So first, what do we do for our team members at Oyster? We call them pearls because they're uniquely, they are rare people that we find in all these countries, the best people from all the world we hire at Oyster. We call them pearls. And for pearls, we do a number of things to support their well-being. First, during the onboarding process, we train them on how to take care of themselves as a remote worker, how to take frequent breaks, how to create boundaries between your work and your life. We also build a culture based on kindness and empathy. So we train manager to check in with their teams. We also offer them a therapist. If you'd like to have a therapist, you can actually, the company would offer you one. We have a mental health channel on Slack that enables people to come and share their challenges, and there's a community of other people that comes and support them. more importantly, we create an environment that reduces the stresses of work, the unnecessary stresses of work on you. You can live where you want to live. You can go see your parents if you want to and still work. You can go to a dentist without feeling guilty. You can pick up your children from school without feeling guilty. So we create this environment for them that makes them feel that they're cared for. And to move on to the second question of Cassia, how do you measure this? We use a framework that enable us to, we use two things. One, we have an application in Slack called Kona that enable us to measure the sentiment, how people are feeling every day. And then we aggregate that anonymously to management. So we see how the sentiment in the company is fluctuating. But when we do our one-to-ones, we use a framework to look at, to ask the question whether the person is burnout, whether the person is in high performance, is in recovery zone, and we don't have to do anything to solve things, but at least the manager asks the employee that question. It just raises the awareness level of the employee, so the employee can realize, oh, I haven't been feeling great in the last 2 weeks. I need to make a change in my work or life. So every one-to-one I do with my team, my direct report, I start with that question, and I start with that framework, and I measure. And actually, just the fact that I ask a question makes people feel seen, heard, and cared for, and give them that awareness necessary to make changes in their life.
From what you're saying, I see that lots of the work stuff and the personal stuff is actually getting more interconnected than ever before, that we can't just care for our personal well-being or just work well-being and see that the rest of stuff goes good. On a broader level, what do you think about the future of well-being and wellness and how we should care for ourselves to be not the best versions of ourselves, but the best versions for ourselves that we want to be, not just someone else asks us to be? How do you envision that? Not just the work part, but the overall well-being? Because from what I see, it's a much broader concept that you need to think about before you get to the either work stuff or personal stuff. You have to think about all the things first and then get to the specific actions in specific areas.
Yeah, it starts with controlling the mind. In my opinion,
okay, that's a lot.
Yeah, you have to realize that the way your mind operates today is a problem for you and the planet and everybody around you. Your mind is like Ferraris with very poor brakes.
Oh yeah.
And you have to learn how to brake. You have to learn to observe these thoughts that are damaging to yourself and others. You have to stop worrying about the future. You have to start festering on the past. You have to be more present to your experience as a human being on this earth, and from there you realize that actually, well, you have to take care of yourself physically, and you have to take care of the environment around you. So then it moves to nutrition. So what you're eating, you have to not eat what the world wants you to eat, what marketers want you to eat, right? You have to really eat what your grandma wanted you to eat, right? Or your grandma, because you have to go back to a world where there was no industrial food, what people used to eat back then, 100 years ago. And we have to also create awareness program around eating food that doesn't destroy the planet. So today we use 80% of agricultural land is to produce food for animals that we eat that actually makes us sick, for instance, right? So how do you shift the attention of people to make choices that are better for their health and they're better for their environment? And I think AI will play an important role in this. I think the future of wellness is really connected to AI. I think with artificial intelligence, we're going to have the opportunity to start using data as a way to measure our wellness in ways that we could not imagine before.
And how do you think we can measure that? Because I think that really connects to the question that Cassia has just asked about companies. How do you think we can measure wellness? Because right now, from what I see, I'm waiting for your answer, but from what I personally see, that we can either just try to check in with ourselves each and every day, which doesn't work for lots of people. It works for some people, but definitely not all of them. Or you can just feel yourself, which doesn't feel like a metrics. So what is your take on that?
I mean, today you have so many sensors measuring so many things in your body and in your smartwatches and monitors, and AI is going to take that to the next level. AI is going to be this meta sensors that is giving you not only data, but actually giving you insight on what you should do and not do. based on your health and well-being goals. I mean, your emotions are nothing more than the reaction to your thoughts, is your body reaction to your thoughts. So being able to monitor your emotions. Today you have sensors that can measure 1,000 emotions per second. That can happen within a human sometimes. So being able to aggregate that data and show you what is your inner experience, and give you a feedback loop so you can correct that in an objective way, is I'm sure somebody is working on this right now, you know.
Tony, and also I just want to ask maybe two personal questions, but it's it's so interesting. Did you have a long way to be at this point that you are now? Because it sounds like you went a big, a long way to have thoughts like that, to have a point of view on the world, on the entrepreneurship, sorry, for like that. Very often people thinking about another stuff, especially when we speak about work, about earning money and something like that. Was it, do you have another version of you? At what was the most, or I don't know, very big point when you just start thinking, no, I should go another way?
Yeah, of course. There's every second there's a new version of me. So I was born in a war zone. I spent the first 9 years of my life in a war zone, and that actually it created in my nervous system what we call PTSD, heightened fear response. And for the first 25, 30 years of my life, I wasn't able to really, I was saturated and overwhelmed by all these sensory information I was getting from the world. So I had to go through a nervous system reprogramming that started probably 8 years ago, using multiple techniques, that because this state of being hypersensitive and being overwhelmed actually created unhealthy behaviors in me, addictive behaviors, relationship issues, self-harm issues. That, I mean, talking self-harm. Self-harm could be just going to the fridge unconsciously and eating an apple, right? I mean, it could be like, you don't eat an apple right now. Like, why are you going to the fridge and eating an apple? You're harming yourself. You're trying to run away from a difficult emotion or a scenario that you had in the past. So yeah, through a number of tools, I call them consciousness development tools, that include physical well-being, but also inner spiritual development, that enabled me to reprogram. Actually, I'm still reprogramming every day my nervous system, and enabled me to see that actually I can become even more successful by creating this protection layer from the world, because I'm not caught. I'm less reactive, and when I'm less reactive, I can build more trust with my team. I can actually be this infrastructure that they can trust, that whatever happens, I'm going to contain their experience, right? I can build mission-driven businesses that are beyond just making profit. And guess what? Profit comes and growth comes when you think about delivering impact. I call it business karma. So if you align what you do with what you believe in, and you're driven not only from the mind, but also from the heart, the universe is gonna come and help you to succeed. We built a company, and we went from 0 to a unicorn status in 2.5 years. Timing was amazing, and we achieved that because we were here to make the world more free and equal. We have 40% of the team members we employ on our platform are in emerging economies. We sent hundreds of millions of dollars to emerging economies in the form of foreign direct investment, salaries, and taxes. That's what drives our success, is being driven by more than just making money. What creates our financial success is that we have a team that is highly aligned around a mission, and they are here to deliver.
Okay, I think I only have one more question. So, Cassie, if you have anything left in yourself,
no, I'm just so impressive. And
Indeed.
I also have this extra vulnerability and sensitivity, and I'm just very interesting experience.
Yeah, and Cassie, I want to say this sensitivity is actually a skill you can develop. It's like your sensor. I think we're all born hypersensitive, and then our life experiences shut down some of our sensors, so you can reopen them. And actually, the more you you grow your consciousness, you grow your sensitivity. Is a correlation there.
Yeah, it's a long way.
When looking up to the young entrepreneurs or just starting entrepreneurs, I think it's really important to give them advice, not just about broad stuff, but actually about something you actually learned on the way. And I definitely know that your advice will be about well-being, but maybe if you could just say that maybe one more time, or you have a really different take on that, what would you say to either yourself years back, what you should do? Maybe you should carry on and do the same stuff and find yourself in the way, or maybe you have a shortcut that you can suggest to a younger version of yourself, the just starting entrepreneur. And I think this advice will apply to lots of people, not just you, but lots of people who are really close to you in terms of being the same entrepreneur just starting up.
Advice to younger entrepreneurs is to find a problem in the world that they're passionate about solving, a problem that can make a difference and make an impact. My advice to them is to be mission-driven first, and then focus on big problems, big markets. So in our case, we focus on the employment market. It's a massive $1 trillion+ market, and we are using software to solve the problem of democratization of opportunity. So pick a problem that you're passionate about, that is useful in this world, and make sure it is a problem that can be positioned on a big market.